Hello everybody, this is John Doe. Today I'm doing a video. So, I wanted to discuss a certain subject, so that's why I decided to make my video a little differently. As you can see, I'll be showing you guys a specific duel. So now I can just focus on just the discussion itself. So now my subject of choice would be Macro Rabbit. This subject of choice is actually being quite popular on YouTube lately, and I wanted to give my 2 cents in. So I'll be asking 3 questions, 2 of which have already been asked. I've already heard them. The third question would be my choice of question. It could have been already asked already, but I don't know. I haven't heard anything from it. But I'll discuss that one last. So now my first question would be, why is Macro so good inside Macro Rabbit? Well, let me discuss what Rabbit and Tour Guide do. The 2 cards that make the combo. Well, with Rabbit, you have to banish it as a cost, of course. To special summon 2 normal monsters from your deck, ranging from levels 1 through 4, with the same name, special summon them from your deck, both of them. Unfortunately, if your opponent effect failures your Rabbit, it doesn't get this effect, but you can still banish it as a cost, of course. And also, if you didn't know this, if your opponent uses Bottomless Trap Hole to the summons of both the normal monsters, let's just say it's both Sabersaurus, then both are banished, but that's just some a side note for you guys. So now the second part of the combo would be you summon the Tour Guide and summon any level 3 Fiend type monsters from your deck. It can be anything. Usually it's going to be a Sangan or another Tour Guide, or even in some cases a Night Assailant. You special summon it and you execute both of those 2 monsters to make Levier. So with Levier's effect, you detach 1 monster to special summon Rabbit or any banished monster that's level 4 or lower. You special summon Rabbit, you activate Rabbit's effect again to special summon 2 normal monsters. Of course, you can only use Rabbit's effect once per turn, but you get the point. That's the big combo. With that, you get a Logia, a Dalka, and a Levier. Way broken. So now, let me tell you what Macro does. With Macro, everything's banished. Everything, including materials from an XYZ monster, spells, traps, everything is banished. That's what happens with Macrocosmos. So now, why is Macro so good inside this deck? Well, it first doesn't hurt the deck, at all. Unfortunately, there is a drawback to it. Your vanilla monsters are still banished, but there's a way to make that, work in your advantage. So, because of Levier, and most players, Dino Rabbit players, use 2 Leviers. I use 2, it's good. I used to play 1, but now 2 is smart. I learned that the hard way. So, with Levier's effect, you special summon Rabbit, Sabersaurus. Because of Macrocosmos, everything is banished. There's a wide range of cards you can special summon from the banished area. And that includes your opponent's monsters too. So, with Macrocosmos, you can use Levier's ability quite a bit. It's actually quite good. Unfortunately, with Macrocosmos, there are some cards that are really good inside Dino Rabbit, and it hurts it. Macrocosmos hurts those cards. A few cards that would be hit because of Macrocosmos, not hit, but it'll hurt it, would be Monster Reborn, because everything is banished, so it's not going to happen as often, but for the most part, you're not going to have Macrocosmos first turn anyway, so that's why you should still play Monster Reborn. Another card that would really hurt would be Pot of Avarice, which is fantastic inside with a Dino Rabbit deck, but because of Macrocosmos, everything is banished anyway, so Pot of Avarice does get hurt. So, Macrocosmos also has a few other things, but let me discuss the second subject. The second question would be, why don't people play Dimensional Fissure? The question is, Cosmos versus Fissure. Okay, so in order to answer that question, which one's better or why people aren't playing it, let me discuss the pros and cons of each card. So first card would be Macrocosmos. The pros of it. There are a few pros on it, but let me just say a few of them. So the first pro would be that it's chainable. I'll elaborate on that a little bit. You set Macrocosmos, and then now it's your opponent's turn. Let's just say they're using a Dark World deck, so they activate, of course, either Dark World Dealings or the Gated Dark World. You chain it to Dark World Dealings or the Gated Dark World. Because he did that, both if it's a dealings, you both your players draw a card and banish a card because everything's banished. Or if it's the Gated Dark Worlds you chain it to, they banish a fiend from the graveyard, they banish a fiend from their hand to draw one card. They go minus a lot because of that, and because the Dark World monsters aren't being banished, aren't being sent to the graveyard and resolving in the graveyard, they don't get their effect. So it really hurts quite a bit of decks. Macros, fantastic. It also hurts Inzectors because Hornet and Ladybug can't be sent to the graveyard because that's the cost. Because Macrocosmos, nothing that its cost is sent to the graveyard, specifically to the graveyard, can't be activated. So cards like Effect Veiler, Maxi, Hornet, anything like that, it can't activate its effect. And anything that resolves in the graveyard, well, for the most part, can't activate their effect. Another pro would be, like I said, Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler and Maxi are basically useless now. However, if you activate Macrocosmos, and your opponent can still technically chain to Macrocosmos, so that their monsters like Maxi or Effect Veiler are still sent to the graveyard because it went first. That's chains resolve backwards, so Maxi and Effect Veiler still go to the graveyard and not banished. So that's why you activate Macrocosmos before you summon your Rabbit or your Tour Guide. Otherwise, your opponent can still use Maxi or Effect Veiler. Of course, they can still use Maxi as a chain. So at least then you don't have to go for Tour Guide or Rabbit and make your opponent get to like 2 draws or 3 draws or whatever. Okay, so that's about it. Macrocosmos hurts a lot of decks. It helps you out. Now for the cons. Macrocosmos does have a few weaknesses. If you activate Macrocosmos and your opponent somehow, of course has a face down Solemn Warning, they can actually negate Macrocosmos with Solemn Warning. I think that's a little strange, especially since most players don't even play Helios, but that's for another subject. Okay, so Macrocosmos is weak to Mystical Space Typhoon, any spell or trap destroyer as warning, while Dimensional Fissure has a little less weaknesses, so that's why Macrocosmos is not as good as Dimensional Fissure in some cases. So now let me discuss the Dimensional Fissure, its pros. So first of all, Dimensional Fissure, a pro of it would be you can just activate it. With Macrocosmos, you have to set it for a turn, so you can't be free of Maxi if you want to go for a Rabbit. Another pro is that materials from an XYZ monster are sent to the graveyard. So cards like Pot of Avarice and Monster Reborn aren't as useless when Dimensional Fissure is on the field. Unfortunately, Macrocosmos is basically useless. A con would be, I guess, it's not chainable. So you can't just activate it on Dark World Dealings. However, that doesn't really matter because they can't activate the Dark World Dealings anyway, so they have a useless card in their hand. So basically, Dimensional Fissure is not even it's not a con since it's not chainable. It's fine. Everything's banished anyway when you activate it. So let me ask the question again. Why don't people play Dimensional Fissure too? Well, I suppose just because of the chainable ability, Macrocosmos is really good. I don't know. I personally don't play Dimensional Fissure yet. I probably should now. I keep forgetting to put in Dimensional Fissure inside my Macro Rabbit deck. So that's the question I want you guys to answer. I want you guys to both answer both. So now for my question. Why exactly don't people... Okay, let me do that again. My question is, why don't people really use... So now the third question. My question is to you guys, why don't people start playing Macrocosmos to its fullest? I'll elaborate. As you've already read the card Macrocosmos, it can special summon a card named Helios, which is a level 4 monster, light attributed monster. I believe it is a question mark attack / defense. It's either question mark or 0. If it's and that actually does matter because if you activate like a Sandgan's effect to search for Helios, I don't know why we'd ever want to do that. If it's a question mark, you can't put it to your hand because it doesn't have a specific attack or defense. But if it's 0-0, you get to search it. I'm pretty sure it's question mark, but whatever. It's a fact if there's as many banished monsters you have, not any banished monsters, just your banished monsters, it gets 100 attack and defense. That's really not good. But the good part about it is that you can, once the Macrocosmos is fully resolved, once Macrocosmos is fully resolved, you can special summon Helios from your hand or deck, so you can make it a really quick XYZ material. And the reason why that's so good because usually a lot of times you just have one vanilla. Let's just say you have a Sabersaurus in your hand. Well, you can't do very much with a Sabersaurus by itself without another monster to go with it. So that's why Macrocosmos, I feel like, is a great way to make those useless level 4 monsters, like, if you have just one Sabersaurus in your hand and nothing else, basically, and no monsters, well, you can activate Macrocosmos, plus summon Helios, normal summon the Sabersaurus, exceed summon the two together to make a Utopia Edition, any of these things. Unfortunately, since Helios is not a dinosaur monster, you can't go for Lagia or Doka, but you don't always have to go for either of the two. So, I know people usually play Macrocosmos at 2. I feel like if you only play Macrocosmos at 2, to me, that's the equivalent of just playing 2 Turns Tribute, which usually people just play 2 Turns Tributes. I just don't feel like if you have just 2 Macrocosmos, it's not a macro deck. It's more like just teching Macrocosmos. I feel like if you're gonna consider a deck a macro deck, you might as well flaunt it. If you have the card, you might as well really use it. I use 3, but after this video, I may actually put in just 1 Helios, 2 Macrocosmos, and 1 Dimensional Fissure. I don't know. I may actually put up the deck profile after this video. I'll see what I can do. So those are my 3 questions to you guys. The first question: why is Macro so good? I want your opinion. The second question: what was the second question? Oh yeah, sorry. Dimensional Fissure versus macro. What do you guys use? Do you guys use a macro, or do you guys use Dimensional Fissure, or do you guys use both? And the last question is, why do people just play 2 macros? Why don't people actually use macro? So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys have any questions, suggestions, or comments, please comment below. I enjoy your feedback. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Merp!